Hey guys, welcome back to Beach and Fishing. Paul here with you again. Beach and Fishing, my site and channel aimed at everything to do with fishing. And along those lines, today we're going to go through another one of my buying guides when we talk about the 3 best bait casting rods for bass fishing. Now, bass fishing is a lot of fun. It's something that I've actually started doing a bit more and more recently. Unbeknownst to me, there's quite a lot of, I always said there was no bass around where I live, but unbeknownst to me, there's quite a lot of rivers and lakes and stuff like that that have Australian bass. They're a freshwater version of perch, so a lot of people call them perch. And in all my research, they're the closest to the smallmouth bass that most of you in the US would be looking for. I have been largemouth bass fishing, caught one. Great fun. Did it on a charter in Texas a few years ago, and if this pandemic ever ends, I'll be back there doing it again. But anyway, so let's talk about casting rods for bass fishing. Casting rods go with the Baitcaster reel. So the Baitcaster reel obviously sits on top of the rod, as opposed to spinning reels where you've got your reel that sits underneath. So we're talking about the rod, so the bait casting rods here. Bait casters. Most of the research I've done into the fishing in the US, and when I did fishing in the US and bass fishing, bait casters seem to be the rod of choice. Please comment below if you feel differently. But bait caster rods, very good for bass fishing, mainly for the fact that bass are a very, very hard hitting fish. I bought this for catching mangrove jack, which is another very, very hard hitting fish. Bass hit just as hard and sometimes harder. So it's about the reel with these. Like, they can handle a harder hit. The drag's a bit more sensitive. They can handle a lot heavier braid and a lot heavier line than what their spinning cousins can. So that tends to be, I think, why the bait casters are more popular there. But when we're talking about rods, so I mean the post below has everything to do with the rod. So have a read through all that. I'm not going to read you through that word for word. The main thing this is a Shimano Chaos rod. I bought it as a combo. It's not too bad. My only issue with this, when it comes to length, is this one's only about 6 foot. It's great in a kayak. I bought it mainly for the kayak, chasing the mangrove jack, as I've said, and I've got a little soft plastic. I've been drifting around for flathead and stuff recently. But in the rivers and stuff for the bass, its casting reach isn't quite as long as I would like. So it probably backs up again all the research that I've seen at around 7 foot. If you're on the bank or in a boat or even in a kayak, 7 foot seems to be around the length to look for. Other things to look for in a good bait casting rod is, I mean, they're all made from pretty much the same stuff: fiberglass, graphite. Carbon is where it's at. It's really light, really strong, really durable. So if you can get carbon, get carbon. Otherwise, look, most of them are okay for what you're doing. Check their capacity. This one has a 6 to 8 kilogram capacity. I'm not quite sure what that is in pounds. I didn't do a conversion to start with, but I've got a 20-pound braid on this and it's handled that fine. I haven't had extremely heavy lures on this, but for bass fishing you don't tend to have really heavy lures anyway. You want something that jigs along. So I mean, this is soft plastic with I think that's a 4 ounce weight on there. So but just make sure it's rated for the reel and for the type of lure and the fish you're going to go. Don't get a really small one because bass will snap it in two. Other things to look for is obviously the runners. This has got like a ceramic type runner in it. Stainless steel, anything like that you know is good and durable. Make sure it's really attached on there. Well, they used to be, some of them are quite flimsy, and that's where the cheaper rods. Now, so if you can move that around, don't buy it. But a lot of the bass rods, this is my spinning bass rod, and a lot of the bass rods tend to have their eyelets like that, a little bit forward, and this one again's got a ceramic runner in it. But if you can wiggle them, like that's got a bit of give, but if you can move that back and forth very easily, especially on the smaller ones, then avoid it. That's for your spinner rods. The bait caster rods don't tend to have as pronounced run forward, but again, if you can move them around quite easily, maybe put it down and try for something else. Other things to look for, the handle. This is an EVA handle, like a plastic, I can't remember what EVA stands for either. Should have done my research for the video, shouldn't I? Cork is another one. A lot of the bass rods have a longer, like a butt on them, so they have a little thing here, and then more carbon or fiberglass, whatever, and then the handle there. Depends what you like. I don't like a long butt on my rods, but some people do. Up to you what you have. They have the little finger thing here because you tend to cast them like that and drop the thing down to cast them out. But yeah, so basically for a rod for bass fishing, around 7 foot is where I would recommend, mainly on the fact that it gives you that casting distance, but still small enough if you're chasing the bass on a kayak or on a boat. The lighter the better. Carbon is obviously where it's at now. Make sure that you've got some good strength in your runners, and make sure there's a good insert in there, stainless steel or ceramic, zinc oxide. A lot of rods have these days. The other thing is the seat. Now, see, this has got a fairly decent. So the rod comes out. See how that's got the reel comes out. Sorry, so that's got a fairly decent molded seat on it, and the screw in there is they're all pretty much the same, but just make sure you're happy with how that sits. Some of them are a bit flimsy as well. And of course, if you're buying a rod without it being in a combo, make sure your reel sits on it. I've got a rod where the little reel I've got, which is this little reel here. This is a little Cabela's bass reel, freshwater bass reel. It's only 500. It's only small. It doesn't fit on some of my rods because the seat rail there is too small. So make sure that the reel you've got, if you're getting it for a rod, will sit on there as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the 3 that I've come up with based on that information. Again, as you go through the post, if we take in the post, as you go through the post, you'll see all that information there. Length. Power is something I hadn't discussed, and I should have discussed that. When it comes to power for a rod, the power is how bend it is. So this one's a medium. Excuse me. This one's a medium, so it bends medium powered. Light means it's very bendy. Heavy means it's quite strong. I always say unless you really have a preference. I mean, light rods are great fun because they bend like anything. It looks like you've got a whale on, even when you've got a undersized fish on there. But and they're very sensitive and they're good fun, but you can lose control of them a little bit as well. I always recommend a medium. That said, if you're chasing fish, bass or other fish in areas with a strong current, you might want a heavier build because it's not as susceptible to the current. And then you'll see action. You'll have slow, fast, and medium. Slow bends the rod. That's where the rod bends. So a slow action bends up near the reel. Fast bends up near the tip. And medium bends sort of back towards the middle a bit. The further you want to cast, the faster action you want. So if you really want to cast a long way, get a fast action. It's got a whippier tip and it will shoot that lure out. Again, if you don't need to cast a long way and you're working within strong currents, go a slow and it will handle that a lot better. But that's what you're looking at with your action, etc. So as we scroll through, that's what I was talking about there. 6 foot carbon fiber, 1 or 2 pieces. Look, to be honest, as I've written a post, I've never found any difference between 1 or 2 pieces, but some people prefer one or the other. So what we've got here, first one is the Ugly Stick GX2 casting rod. Ugly Stick is a very, very good brand. They work in graphite. They're the old glass tip, which means they're very sensitive. They have they're a fiberglass rod with a graphite glass tip. That's what they're famous for. They come from anywhere from 5.6 to 7 foot. Stick to the longer lengths, as I've mentioned. Medium light to medium heavy, all good. Not mentioned. I thought I did mention the thing there. Composition is 1 piece. I have to fill that in. EVA handle, very sensitivity, and they got the cosmetics stuff. And now 2 pieces there. There you go. 2 piece, 7 foot. And as I say, it's a good solid rod, good solid bass fishing rod. It will not let you down. It's nice and strong. It will handle live bait and casting, and it's a very good price. So get onto that one if you're just starting out or want a good rod for a good price. Good reviews in Amazon about that one as well. Next one, Cast King. This is a fishing rod. It says spinning rod there, but they have both spinning and casting in there on this site. So that's why it says that there. Again, 4.6 to 7.6 feet. Stick to the 6.7 to 7 foot. Medium to heavy, moderate fast to fast action. 1 or 2 pieces. That depends on the length. If you go 6.7 or 7, it'll be 2 pieces. EVA handle as well. Carbon blanks. Very light, very powerful, very strong. Graphite high strength reel seat. So that's where the reel sits in. That's something I mentioned before about where the reel sits. Very popular rod these. Durability, balance and strength. Good price. Handle all the different bass fishing you could need. Bit more expensive than the previous one, but a very good carbon rod, which will certainly do the trick for you. And thirdly, we've gone the St. Croix Mojo Bass casting rod. You can see that one's got the longer butt that I was talking about before. This one's carbon, 7'1", perfect length, good power options. You've got a few options there, good action options there. Again, stick the moderate to fast would be if I was buying one here, I'd go 7.1. I'd probably go medium heavy and moderate fast. It'll handle everything. It'll cast pretty well. 1 or 2 pieces. Split grip. Oh, I don't know what I was doing when I was writing this one. Premium grade. It's EVA. It's cork. So I'll put that in there as well. Reel seat with black hood. So a good reel seat. It's got some coating on it to keep it nice and protected and nice and durable. And 3D guides, strong aluminium oxide rings. So they're the runners that I was talking, or the line runners where I was talking about before. So these are very popular, these rods. They always get a lot of good reviews and good interest in any of the sites I deal with, Amazon, Bass Pro Shops and the like. They all have really good results with the St. Croix rods. Perfectly weighted. You can use it in top water and deep lures as well. Lightweight. Handle line weight's up to 30 pound, which is if you're going for the big largemouth, that's what you want, and would handle everything that you're dealing with there as well. So that's my third option there, the St. Croix. It's a bit more expensive, but if you want a bit more quality, that would be one that I would recommend for you. Okay guys, that's my 3 bait casting rods for bass fishing. Hope that was helpful for you. If you're watching this within YouTube, please like and subscribe to my channel below. If you're watching within the post, if you have any experience with any of those rods, anything that I've talked about that you have a difference of opinion, one thing I love about fishing, everyone has a different opinion. If you've used them and have experience with them, if there's another rod that you highly recommend that you use, please comment below. Would love to hear about what you use as far as casting for bass fishing, especially if you're going after the big largemouth. Tell me what you use and I'll add it to my list. Okay guys, thanks for that. Happy fishing and I'll chat to you soon. Bye.